How about this? A little country music that's done by the Byrds. That's right, on Billboard's Hot 100, May 25th, 1968. Let me bring it up for you real quick. Coming in at the song is at number, oh gosh, let me dig up that record. Number 78. It debuted at 93, moved up to 78, stalled at number 78 on Billboard's Hot 100. Produced by Gary Usher. Gary Usher, who worked with Brian Wilson on some of the early car records, the early Beach Boys records like In My Room and 409. He also founded the group Sagittarius. Had that song, one of those great psychedelic records, Sunshine Psychedelic Records in 1967. I don't know if it's really Sunshine. It's kind of a melancholy record. My World Fell Down, produced by Gary Usher. Yes. Well, he produced this album. He produced this record by the Byrds. And the Byrds, oh, let me bring it up again. I'm getting too excited. You don't, wait a minute. You ain't going nowhere. That's the name of the song by the Byrds at number 78 on Billboard's Hot 100, May 25th, 1968. It's from the album, oh gosh, I wrote down the name of the album. I'm going to go with Sweethearts of the Rodeo. It was their sixth album, or it might have been the eighth album. No, it's sixth album by the Byrds. Now, here's the thing, briefly, on this album. This was a country album by the Byrds. They branched out big time. They recorded this album in Los Angeles, and they also recorded some of this album in Nashville, Tennessee. The original concept of this album, Roger McGuinn wanted to do a concept album of 20th century American music, covering from R&B, blues, jazz, folk. But they brought in a guy named Graham Parsons, a little known guy at the time named Graham Parsons. Graham Parsons, big into country music. He wanted to bring country music back and introduce it to a younger generation. Graham Parsons started working on Chris Hillman of the Byrds. And instead of doing a concept album, Graham Parsons was like, hey, let's do something different. Let's lean towards country. Let's do a little country. And eventually, Roger McGuinn, he came around. Graham Parsons called it, his concept for the album was called Cosmic American Music. There would be some roots. It would be rooted in blues, R&B, there would be folk, but the leaning of the sound would be towards honky-tonk country. And it was Graham Parsons who persuaded the group to at least record some of this album in Nashville, Tennessee. Ooh, but I tell you what, those folks in Nashville, Tennessee, when they see these long-haired hippies coming in and doing country music, they're like, what the hell are these guys doing here? These bunch of commie hippies trying to subvert country music, trying to subvert our government, trying to do this and that. They were greeted with some hostility in Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, we're talking about the South. Ooh, in the South, I tell you what, you didn't want to wear your hair very long in the South back in the 60s. Not even in the bigger cities. Believe me, I grew up in the South. I know all about that. But, and that's not all. Tensions started to develop between Graham Parsons and the rest of the group. I think it's something legal difficulties, but the group was re-recording some of Graham Parsons' vocals. That just hurts. That's just mean. It's like you go into the studio, you put down your vocals, and then the rest of the group comes in later on and they redub your vocals. They put in some other vocals on top of your vocals. It happens. Believe me, it happens. But still, Graham Parsons left the group, did his own thing, became one of the pioneers of the country rock scene. And I tell you this, the Byrds and what the Byrds did on this album, and Graham Parsons, kind of helped set the stage for the commercialism of country rock in the 70s as epitomized by the Eagles. What else needs to be said about this album? My notes are all over the place on this thing. I think I'm done. Bob Dylan wrote this record. Did I mention that? Bob Dylan wrote this record by the Byrds. Coming in at number 78 on Billboard's Hot 100, May 25th, 1968. God, I'm so glad to bring this song to you. You ain't going nowhere.